You have to be a special kind of crazy in a good way to want to be a part of this, right? Like I think about the expectations that we hold ourselves to on a daily basis. You know, a restaurant in distribution makes a call at 5 o'clock in the afternoon and says, I need this frozen, this refrigerated, and these dry goods, and I need them here by 5 a.m. Right? So it's like 12-hour turnaround. And it's not for one customer, it's for every single one of your customers. And in order to be successful in that environment, you have to hold yourself to a certain standard. True partnerships where you can go out hand in hand with your distributor partner and you can represent yourself as, hey, I am the packer of this product and it is best in class for these reasons. That's valuable. As a supplier, finding those partners, it's incredibly rewarding and it makes everything easier because you know your distributors are going to go hand in hand with you into those customers.
Welcome to Farm to Fork, the Innovators. I'm David Maloney, president of Datum FS. With over 40 years in the food supply chain, we explore the stories and strategies transforming how we produce and serve food. Our guest innovator today is Mike DiBeneditto, CEO of Golden Waffles, a supplier to the food service community for nearly a century. Mike brings deep expertise in food manufacturing and distribution. We explore today the state of food service distribution, staying relevant as a supplier brand, strengthening partnerships between suppliers, distributors, and restaurants, and the importance of people in this process and the ultimate connection with the consumer. So buckle up, hit that subscribe button, and let's harvest progress together. This is Farm to Fork, the Innovators, where the future of the food supply chain starts with this episode. All right, Mike, welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So first and foremost, I am dad to Eliana and Mikey, my 4-year-old daughter, my 3-year-old son, husband to Whitney. And in my free time, I am the CEO of the world's only all-inclusive fresh waffle program, Golden Waffles.
And who is Golden Waffles briefly? I know we'll kind of step into that a little more. And folks, our objective today is really we have a lot of distribution and a lot of operational experience on these shows, but really want to feature some supplier experience here. And as you'll learn from Mike also has great experience in the distribution world. So, but anyways, tell us a little bit about just Golden Waffles, Mike.
Sure. We are, we live our tagline, which is happy made easy. Right. So happy, your guest experience doesn't begin when, your customers take their first bite. It's when they first walk in. It's when they're actually entering into the location. And just think about the happiness that you feel when you smell that fresh baked golden waffle, in your hotel lobby, in your restaurant itself, made. If you buy our mix, which is this, same great product that we've been selling since 1937, the highest quality mix that you can buy in the industry, you also get the most reliable appliance you'll ever have in your kitchen, which is a made in the USA Golden Waffles waffle iron. And easy. Your personal background, you understand how complex it is to operate in this industry. On the food service side, whether you're hospitality, food service, it doesn't actually matter. All your suppliers, all your orders you place. With Golden Waffles, you don't actually have to place any orders. So, once you get your iron, once you get your mix, we show up once a month. We do preventative maintenance on your iron. We replace it if there's anything wrong with it, real time, free of charge. And we also maintain your par levels and deliver your mix without having to know what you've used or what you need. At some point, I'm sure we'll talk about that ideal supply chain environment. That is a fully intuitive environment. And while we're not necessarily utilizing technology to get that done, it's not artificial intelligence. It's just human intelligence. Our people are focused on making it as easy as possible to do business with Golden Waffles, the fresh baked waffles on your menu, no matter who you are.
So to your point about the smell, so if I can simplify it, please correct me if I'm wrong. This weekend, my daughter has a soccer tournament in Orlando. I don't think we're spending the night in a hotel, but if we do, and, kind of those self-serve waffles, right, in the hotel, I think, Mike, your company is a big part of that. Is that fair?
That is us. If you are making a fresh waffle at a hotel, pretty much anywhere in the world, you are using our iron in our mix.
All right, cool. And I can attest to the smell because you might be able to, if you're watching this on YouTube, I am recording from the office of our restaurant, which I'll plug, Pastry Art Cafe, downtown Sarasota. And the ovens sit right beneath the open window to our office, and it's just they're making muffins right now, and it's overpoweringly good.
Well, David, do we have an iron yet? If you don't have an iron will be at your restaurant tomorrow.
Okay, all right. We'll talk about that offline. Okay, cool. All right, so folks, again, I think what's interesting here is we wanted to. Golden Waffles just went through a acquisition, or it's not acquisition, excuse me, a transaction, I should say, recently, right? And there's been a rebrand that's occurred, right? And so I think what's interesting here is one is as we get into Mike's experience and distribution, and then here, but also how Mike and his team and Golden Waffles thinks about that rebrand. And they are not only as a manufacturer connecting to businesses, but connecting to consumers. And if you listen to our episodes, you would know that a lot of suppliers are trying to find a way to connect to consumers. So I think there's a lot of great intelligence that we could get here today. So, but first, let's get a little bit about your experience. Like, Mike, what attracted you to the food supply chain? Like, I think you started in distribution, right? Were you in operations first or just distribution?
Well, I was in customer service first, actually.
Okay.
I got hired to sell, and I wound up getting, dropped into the customer service team, which was the greatest blessing that I could have been given by my mentor, someone I still, love and stay in close touch with today, the person that hired me out of college. But before I even started in the industry, I actually went to school for food marketing. So the food business itself was something I wanted to be a part of from a very young age. But what kept me in it and what keeps me in it today is the people. You know this yourself. You have to be a special kind of crazy in a good way to want to be a part of this, right? Like, I think about the expectations that we hold ourselves to on a daily basis. A restaurant in distribution makes a call at 5:00 in the afternoon and says, I need this frozen, this refrigerated, and these dry goods, and I need them here by 5 a.m. Right? So it's like 12-hour turnaround. And it's not for one customer, it's for every single one of your customers. And in order to be successful in that environment, you have to hold yourself to a certain standard. You have to be willing to go over and above and provide a customer experience that is not just acceptable, or it's not just next day service. It's next day within a 2 to 3 hour window, because the people that are depending on us to keep them open, are depending on us to just allow them to function. It was such a rush to be a part of that, to be a part of a team that took pride in being able to thrive in that kind of environment. And once I got into it at the age of 22, 23, there is no better training ground. There is no better environment to build you up, both as a professional and a person, than working in that food service distribution industry. So it is, and it always will be the people, the family that we are all a part of in this business.
Yeah. And maybe we can take a step back, just in case we got a listener that doesn't understand what food service distribution. Can you just walk us through, how kind of restaurants get their food today, kind of the supplier, distributor, operator chain, please?
Sure. I personally have actually been on every side of that. And so being able to identify with the chef, with the restaurant manager, with the food sales professional, with the delivery driver, with the selector, these are all roles that I have held over the course of my career. And I take a lot of pride in having experienced all of those things. But from a distribution standpoint, traditionally, what will happen is your customer places your order. This is what I need, fresh, frozen, dry. And from a distribution standpoint, your organization takes in that order, goes out to your warehouse. They select and build that order for you overnight. This is a 24-hour operation. So, we get our orders at 3 p.m. We're selecting them at 3 a.m., right? It's all same day, 24-hour turnaround. I'd say 99% of everything is next day. Build the pallets, load the trucks, hand off from warehouse to driver. Driver goes into the restaurant, and it's a delivery. Now, the delivery is something that is actually very sacred for a restaurant operator. This has to go smooth, and it doesn't only have to be on time. It needs to be on time and happening in the way that the chef needs it to happen. Where's my cooler stuff go? Where's my freezer stuff go? Where's my dry stuff go? How do I maintain the integrity of all of my goods? Not just temperature, but also food safety, right? Like, we are all responsible for the integrity and the safety of every product that is consumed in every restaurant in the world. Another reason why I love this business. Think about how powerful and impactful that actually is. Everyone is responsible for everyone else's safety when it comes to, the food that we ingest. And so, from the distribution standpoint, you roll the frozen stuff into the freezer, cooler stuff into the cooler, dry into the dry, wherever it may be, inside or outside at any one of these locations. Make sure that the customer gets everything that they asked for. Check it off that invoice, and then you go home, get some sleep, and come back the next day and do it, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 times over the next day.
And so, just so people understand, if you go into a restaurant and you see, like, I'm from Pittsburgh originally, so I'll pick on Heinz ketchup. If you see a Heinz ketchup bottle, Heinz doesn't sell that ketchup directly to the operator. There may be, in some cases of big chains, there might be some sort of contract, but there's usually a distributor partner that's involved to get that product to the operators, because these operators can't take in mass quantities that Heinz would want them to take, right? So food service distribution, Mike is exactly right, is really a crucial point in the supply chain for the restaurants that you go to. And I'm a data guy, the holder of the most important data perhaps in the whole supply chain, the connection.
For sure.
Yeah. So you were in food service distribution. You started in sales, then you went to sourcing?
I started in customer service, went to sales, went to sourcing, bounced back and forth between sales and sourcing in a couple of different roles, and then went into operations, and then went into general management from there.
Okay. So what did you learn from the sales process? Right? Like, I was an old sale. That's how I learned to sell. I was in Atlanta in the mid 90s selling for an independent distributor, going door to door, right? It taught me a lot. What did you learn, right, from the sales process in food service distribution?
One of the first lessons that I was taught and that I hold on to right now, and I actually, I will be teaching this to my children, because it's not just a selling tactic. I believe it's something that's important in life. It's that, first off, if you ask somebody what they want, they will tell you. And, the best thing that you can do when they're telling you is listen to them. Those are things that I think so many times when somebody's speaking to us, we're just waiting for our turn to speak rather than listening to the words that are actually being said to us, and listening and being willing to be a part of the solution for your partner from a selling standpoint. That's ultimately what people are buying from you for. That's what they're partnering with you for. It's how can you be a part of solving whatever problem I have today. I know that's a very broad statement, but if you really look around you, you will find problem finders all over the place. It's really easy to point at something and say, that is wrong. What's difficult is to find somebody that's willing to sit down with you and say, okay, this over here, it doesn't look like it's working that well. Here's how we could improve it. That's what problem solving is. And, listening and asking what somebody wants, those are really the key moments. From there on, what I learned and what I hold on to is that it truly is all about the customer experience. One of my favorite taglines that I tend to be a bit dismissive of is that the customer is always right. That's not 100% true, right? Like, I've been a customer plenty of times in my life, and I've been wrong. I've been wrong a lot, and I've been corrected. I've been aided. I've been taught. And so I'm not so much focused on giving everybody exactly what they want. What I'm focused on is listening and then providing the best possible customer experience that I can, because that is what everyone is going to remember. And that is what our customers are striving to provide for their customers, for the consumer. Like, what matters within the customer experience? Focus on those things, listen and ask questions, but listen to the answers that you get, and you'll be a successful salesperson no matter what business you're in.
Yeah, that's great input. Is it fair to say, too, that you're right, the customer isn't always right? But, one of the most attractive things for our restaurant, at least with our chef and our pastry chef, is that salesperson being able to give us intelligence outside of our four walls. So if you were to do something, right, what are we doing wrong here? What are you seeing out there? What's working? What's not working? Is that fair?
Of course. Yeah. And where that's pulled from? It's pulled from people. It's very few, individuals in the world are the originators or the creators, right? We're all taking something and we're doing the best that we can with it. And it's through our interactions with other customers, with other people in other industries, that we're able to provide those those solutions, those potential answers to problems, and being able to bring it without even being asked. I mean, that's your North Star.
Yeah.
So being able to walk in and be creative without even having to, I'm not being asked to provide a deliverable. I'm just walking in and trying to help as best I can. Finding that type of vibe in a buyer-seller relationship, I mean, that is your perfect outcome.
Yeah. Cool. And then sourcing. So can you define sourcing and operations for us and distribution? And then maybe elaborate what you learned from there and prepared you to be at Golden Waffles.
Whew. Sourcing in the food business is really important to understand what your salespeople and your customer want and who your salespeople and your customer truly are. There are so many incredible. Think about the food business. How many times does a new trend pop up that no one had ever even thought of applying within their own four walls? That now from a distributor, from a manufacturer standpoint, you need to incorporate into what you do and who you are. And then think about how many different ways you can procure that product, how many different formats that product can be used: fresh, frozen, dry, pulverized, right? Sourcing in the food service business is understanding that you have so many options available to you, but your customers will tell you what they want and what they need. And how do you find that balance between value, quality, price? Like, how do I deliver the perfect solution for every type of customer? Our expectations remain the same no matter what the ask is. We will get there when we're asked to be there with product of the highest integrity at the most honest and valuable price that we can provide. But the expectation doesn't get to shift along with the tastes and trends. And so you can't just be good at one thing. You have to be good at all of the other things that are around it. I can't just be a great meat buyer as a sourcer in food service. I have to be great at understanding fresh, frozen, dry, imported, domestic. And it's being willing to adjust to the changing consumer taste and preferences that I would say best prepared me and will best prepare anyone for any job in the world. Whether you're preparing to be the CEO of Golden Waffles or you're just leaving the food industry in general and you're going to work in supply chain somewhere else, UPS, FedEx, it's being willing to adjust in the moment to what your customers want and need and finding the right solution, the right widget, if you will, to fit in whatever gap has been presented to you.
Yeah. And so you're saying balancing the trends, balancing value, price, quality, et cetera. But you also have to balance. You can't be out, right? And you can't be long either, right? You don't want that inventory. You don't want to have no inventory, right? Because then you're in trouble, right? So does that add to that complexity?
I mean, it comes back to the expectations, right? The expectation is like, not only are we going to get it tomorrow, but you're never not going to be out of it. And it does add to the complexity. I think it is important throughout the process to make sure that you are setting realistic, and the expectation, again, is always high, but you can set realistic expectations within some of the special requests that you will get. So yes, it's about never being out, but I come back to, it's really about providing that highest level customer experience that you can. And so if your customers' expectations have been level set and they understand, fresh dragon fruit in December is going to have a little bit of a lead time. And, if you want that, you have to give me a couple of days before I can get that. But if you're just looking for Macintosh apples, I got you. Yeah. Right? I can get you that tomorrow. So as long as you're communicating, you're listening, and you're also making sure that you're being heard, that whole, you can never be out of it, can be managed appropriately. You can deliver that great customer experience if you're setting the expectations as well within the guidelines that you can operate in as you possibly can.
Yeah, and I'll attest to that. Our key bakery supplier has been letting us know for about a week and a half that a key ingredient was going to be out. And so we took some extra inventory up front, and then they made sure we had a courier delivery yesterday.
And now think about the next time they're out of something.
Right.
What your reaction is going to be, right? It's not going to be, these guys are never helping me out. It's like, you know what? They're out of it. It's because they were out of it, right? It's something happened. You build equity with your customers with every single one of those interactions. It's meaningful. Every time you try, every time you show up and you give somebody an opportunity to be a part of that solution, be a problem solver, you're earning equity and you're gaining another chance when something else is going to go wrong in the future. These things matter. These things really are important.
Yeah. So how did your distribution experience prepare you for Golden Waffles? Remind me, you went directly from distribution into Golden Waffles, or was there something in between? Okay.
Yep. Distribution to Golden Waffles.
Why did you make that move, and what prepared you in distribution for Golden Waffles?
Well, the why is just how special this opportunity is. I've never been a part of anything so unique, so wonderful. And again, the people are the largest component of that, but our product, our commitment to quality, our willingness to do whatever it takes to make sure that none of our customers ever go without. We don't need orders, right? Like, we show up without being asked. That's about being problem solvers. So I was so attracted to the opportunity. The preparation from distribution, again, I encourage any leader in any organization, if somebody's applying for a job in your business and you see that they have broadline food service distribution experience on their resume, take that resume and take it seriously. Meet with that person, even if you're not even in the food business, because your preparation in that world is all about delivering on high expectations. Yeah. That's truly what it is. And that's what prepared me for everything I was going to do in life. Now, what I will say is, specific to distribution and specific to leadership, right? What I took out of my time with Broadline is how we are all important. We are all, we all provide our value in our own ways. But it was how, as a leader, kind of insignificant I was to the day-to-day delivery of our objectives in the organization, and how important our frontline associates were. Like, if I didn't show up to work as a division president one day, the customer still got their groceries because the drivers and the selectors and the salespeople showed up to do what they do. And I will never lose focus of how important our frontline associates that are having that day-to-day contact with our customers truly are. And then, to take that another step further, I'd spend as much time in the field as I possibly could when I was in food service. I'm not an office guy in general, so I like to be out there. I love the restaurant environment. I love the hotel environment. All of it just excites me. That's my that is my energy, my engine. And so
never could tell, Mike.
So I go out with customers and I meet with them. And listen, our salespeople, all my salespeople I've ever had are the greatest salespeople in the world. I love every single one of them. But I'll be in there with the customer, and the chef and the restaurant manager will say, David over here, best sales guy I've ever had. I love him. He is great. Don't you ever change my driver.
Yes.
Right. Yep. Like, my driver knows what needs to be done when I'm not standing here, and I need that. That is dependability. It's reliability. So the importance of your team, of your people, of continuity, of retention, of employee retention, of employees wanting to be a part of something that is bigger than just, dropping off a package. That is what I took out of food service distribution. It is what I will take with me professionally and personally for the rest of my life. Everything is about your people and how they feel at the beginning and end of their day. Yeah.
And to your point on the driver, first episode of Farm to Fork, which is, by the way, over a year ago now, folks, we had David Cox on, who was the president of RCOP, who's now the president of Aerostream. And RCOP is, for those who don't know, Arby's Purchasing Co-op. And he spoke about how important that driver relationship was to the store, even though it was generally out of his control as a company. But that driver relationship is crucial. And actually, the bakery driver is here. I texted the bakery guy, our salesman, yesterday. I said, hey, this driver is really good. We literally have to beg him to eat something. Right? We would say, hey, I said, do you have a lunch? No. I said, let us make you lunch, man. Take it with you. He puts the stuff away for us. He does, he's great.
Think about that again, right? How simple it is. Somebody shows up, they roll in a stack, and then they leave it. Versus somebody that walks in, rotates your inventory, places it on the shelf for you, takes that extra 2-3 seconds. Those things matter. And a driver, in a lot of instances, shows up more than once a week. Whereas a salesperson, that's once a week, bi-weekly. Your drivers typically have more touch points with your customers than anyone else in the organization. Value them, treat them like gold, because they are the keys to running a successful distribution business.
Yeah, and it is wicked hard job, folks.
Whew.
Wicked hard job. Before we step into Golden Waffles a little more, what do you think are the major challenges in the food supply chain today, and food service specific, since that's your experience, I guess?
I mean, we just actually touched on it. It's turnover, it's people. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Coming out of COVID, you lost a large chunk of your workforce, and a lot of people were just starting over, right? You had to rebuild your team. And there is just so much tribal knowledge that comes with years of experience, relationships with restaurant owners and operators, with chefs, and understanding how, they prefer things to be done. And, we see a lot of, I would say, specifically in distribution, you're starting to see a lot of like simplification. And while that is great from an efficiency perspective, what you can't lose is the personal touch. You can't lose the human element of who we are and what we do. And so, as a leader, as a business, as somebody that runs a business, I fully understand and appreciate the need to be as lean, as efficient as you possibly can be. That does matter, right? You need to make sure that you're as profitable as you can be, whether you're a chef, restaurant owner, CEO, it doesn't matter. Like you need to make sure that you're making as much as you can. But what's the path to making as much as you can? It's not always lean. It's not always cutting. It's not always reducing. And I've seen this reliance on trying to do as much as possible with as few people as you possibly can. And, it's created opportunities for others in the industry to step in and fill the void that has been left by some of those people. It's really all about people. Everything we do is all about people. And there's plenty of issues that we could dive into, from, food safety, the overall cold chain experience. I know the challenges in delivering fresh food, frozen food on a daily basis. And I see so many advancements in that world, but nothing will ever top having a driver with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years experience driving a new vehicle, a maintained vehicle with a new reefer, a maintained TK unit in the back with a bulkhead that fits, right? All these little things that when you try to simplify and lean out, you could lose focus of. That, to me right now, is one of the biggest pain points that I see in the domestic distribution business.
Interesting. Good stuff. All right. So let's step into Golden Waffles. So maybe give us the history. Like we mentioned just a moment ago, you went through a transaction. Why? What are the benefits of that? And then perhaps let's dive into the rebrand. I know I just threw a lot on your plate, so I'll remind you.
No, it's fine, because this is the most fun thing I've ever done in my life. I've never seen or heard of anything like this. So Golden Malted was what the organization was named. Started out as Carbon's Golden Malted, New Carbon, Golden Malted, right? And the entire, the malted name comes from the ingredients that we use in our mix. We were the first ever patent granted for any sort of mix that had enriched flour, malt flavoring, and sweeteners. We were the first ever, what you think of now when you think of a pancake mix or a waffle mix. We were the first. We're the first ones to ever do it. And I say we, a collective we. This was 1937. So clearly I was not a part of the organization at that point. And, not everybody here was, but we still have the founder's grandson here as, working in product development. The continuity that we've had since 1937 on the quality of the mix that we provide. It is just so unique. That doesn't exist in so many companies out there. So Golden Malted built their business first on that high quality mix, but then they transitioned into the service platform, which is what truly defines who we are today. When we talk about an all-inclusive waffle program, that's just kind of a goofy statement. I know that. I know people hear that and it's like, all right, do I get free drinks? What does that even mean? No, all-inclusive in the sense that you get your mix, you get your appliance, you get your service, you get everything. And the only thing that we're actually charging you for is mix. And I know that's a pushback, I'm paying for it in my mix. I think that's an understood thing, and we do our best to explain that to our customers as we go. But for your price of mix, which still comes out to being a center of the plate item for you in all day parts that you put on a dish for less than $1, you're going to pay less than $1 per waffle for that product. I know there's not a lot of products we can throw onto and call it a center of the plate item in any day part for 70 cents, right? Like that is a very unique product. You get all of those things from the service program that was created by the Golden Malted team, our waffle guys and gals going out and just delivering the mix, servicing the iron, replacing it if need be. And again, all of those service components completely free of charge. We do not charge for a waffle. We don't charge for plates. We don't charge for extra irons. It's all about just buy your mix from us and everything else we'll just take care of free of charge. Now, when we transitioned from Golden Malted to Golden Waffles, it was truly just about being able to connect with the customer and the consumer in the way that we were intending. Who are we and like what do we do, right? Like I walk around wearing something with the Golden Waffles logo on it as much as I can because I want everyone to understand it. Who are we? We are the largest provider of fresh baked waffles in the world. 60 countries, 60 plus countries, right? Like every single state, everywhere you go that you can get a fresh baked waffle, it's us. It's who we are. It's what we do. And so we didn't want to lose any of the history. We maintain that with the golden within the name. But Golden Waffles, we are a waffle company. We sell pancake mix. We sell syrup. We sell everything that goes along with your waffle. But if you want fresh baked waffles on your menu in your hotel, no matter where you are at in the world, at your home, Golden Waffles is the solution for you. And this rebrand has been, I haven't had this much fun doing something professionally. We touched everything. We're changing the iron decals, the trucks, the signage. We're working with convenience stores to actually get point of sale built in there for their fresh baked waffle stations that they're installing, right? Like we have this attractive logo with colors and we can be a part of our customer's business in a way that I don't think we were really quite there in that Golden Malted realm. So love, appreciate, respect. We'll never forget what Golden Malted was and who Golden Malted is still to this day. And now we're transitioning into that next phase of being like the waffle company. It's who we are. It's who we strive to be. And I love it. And we all love it.
I think we all could tell, Mike. So if by chance you hear the tap, tap, tapping, that's Mike. I'm assuming you're Italian, Mike.
I am, sorry.
As am I. Yep. It's the hands moving, baby. It's the hands tapping, moving, right? No, we can tell. So, and if I could step back, is it fair to say that your program, if I kind of think back in my operation days back in the 90s, would be similar kind of to a program back then, like a coffee program, like General Coffee, where they have the equipment, they bring the coffee, they service everything, and you just pay for the coffee. Now, I don't want to minimize what you're doing, but it is a full service program, correct?
That's right. Full service.
Right.
I think the reality is that it's actually more complex when you think about the coffee program, plumbing, water supply. It's quite frankly, there's a lot of components to it and there's a lot more things that can go wrong. So it was harder to just show up and swap out, a complicated piece of coffee equipment. Whereas for us, if you tell me, I was making the joke earlier on in our conversation, but you're going to have a waffle iron tomorrow. It's 24-hour turnaround. And swapping out a waffle iron is as simple as long as you got the electric. We walk in, plug it in, walk out. We build all of our irons in South Bend, Indiana, and they're all to the exact same spec. We can do some personalization, and we do for people that ask for it, but 99.9% of our irons, really the same iron, right? And so it's a lot easier for us to be in and out and keep that whole process seamless for anyone that wants to have that fresh baked waffle on the menu.
Yeah, cool. All right. And so let's maybe, if we have some suppliers listening here, right, that maybe have some antiquated brands or are struggling to connect with the consumer, what would you offer them? Like what kind of, without giving away your secrets, what kind of strategy do you have? And what is the process of that rebrand?
Well, first things first, people, again, I did not do this. Right. And I didn't even pretend to be the subject matter expert in the room. It was overwhelming to have the support from Arbor, our incredible ownership group, from, our local team here, where we went out and we hired the right team, marketing professionals, to come in here and actually build out our strategy. And the strategy, it's not so much about, lock yourself in a room and, figure it out. That's not really the path, because what I like and what I, enjoy might not necessarily resonate with the broader audience. It's about bringing people in that are comfortable asking for help and sourcing the information from your customers, from your consumers, from your competitors, quite frankly, right? Like from everybody in the industry to see what resonates and what actually matters. You also need to be comfortable being uncomfortable. This is an organization that's been in place since 1937. And we could have gotten some pretty serious pushback from both customers and from employees.
Great point.
And so, we didn't get it as overwhelming as maybe some other people will. This change was pretty welcome. But at the same time, you have to steel yourself. Like when you go out in front of people that not everybody is going to like it. And so you sit back, don't get overwhelmed with any negative feedback. Digest it, listen, be willing to adjust, be willing to make the corrections where you have to, but don't try to be everything for everyone. Your voice, your message, your company's what is your company most proud of? What matters to you? And then what matters most to your customers? Does your brand, does your name, do your colors, do they tell that story? And if you take a couple swings at it and you get the answer like, yeah, this sounds, this looks, this feels exactly like what I think your company stands for, then you're heading down the right path.
So I hear you use the word feedback, and it sounds to me that feedback loop, if you will, was very important in the strategy of this rebrand. Is that fair?
Oh, it's necessary. I mean, if you're not getting the feedback, that's probably because people aren't interested in what you're asking about.
Yeah. So it occurs to me that at least with your operations, you have some direct, you're doing manufacturing and distribution, right? So you have drivers who are, or I don't, do you call them drivers or what do you call them?
So we have RSRs.
RSRs.
Yeah. Route sales representatives.
So they're selling, driving, everything, right? But you have that point of contact all the way back to manufacturing, where a lot of manufacturers, or I'll use manufacturers and suppliers interchangeably, don't. Is that fair?
Of course.
So you have that point, which is an advantage. Is that fair?
It is a bit of a cheat code for us, but
yeah.
I guess my feedback to that would be your presence is not only felt when you're physically in the room. When I was a sales rep, when I was out making deliveries, right? Like I had products that I was just super comfortable with, super confident in.
Yeah.
And it was funny, the reasons why I was so comfortable and confident with some of the products are not what many people would expect. It's like, as a salesperson, do I always default to the lowest price product because I know that's where I can make the most money if I try to maximize my commission or my margin? Not necessarily. Like I used to shy away from certain types of French fries because in the summer, the packaging that the manufacturer would use just didn't have the right integrity. And as it would get warm out and you'd have, just condensation and everything building up as you were opening and closing your truck door to make deliveries, the boxes would collapse. And so when we would show up to the customer with collapsed boxes, your initial reaction is, this is cheap. This is no good. I don't like this. Right. I don't want this. So what are the things that make you valuable as a brand, as a product, as a company, as a person? And if you lean into those things and you can differentiate and you can find that place in the mind of the people that are making the deliveries for you, whether it be the salesperson, a delivery driver, but if you're taking those things into account and then you lean into my brand, my value, my quality, your presence is felt whether or not you're the individual, you're the company that's owning the distribution. But you got to really be in tune with what's important to your buyers.
Yeah. Is it fair to say, though, for suppliers that distribution, when they've moved to more of their own product lines, right, it's become harder for these suppliers, brand suppliers, well, I'll pick on Heinz again, somebody like Heinz, to connect and create that feedback or get that feedback loop, which it potentially has opened up the doors to GPOs, et cetera, right? Group purchasing organizations. I mean, do you have any advice for those suppliers on how to get that feedback from customers or create that loop or create that connection?
You're asking the question that places me right in the middle of all of the people that I love, right, in this industry, because it's such a challenge. For the distributors, selling your private label has so much value, and I understand that. And, I would say that, first off, as a manufacturer, there is value in being a part of that private label partnership.
Sure.
If it's a partnership. There are partnerships, and then there are, I'm just going to go out and bid everybody out to the lowest possible price. And I don't really care about what's in that box. I don't care if it looks the same, tastes the same, smells the same, but my box is going to have the cheapest product and I'm going to make as much money as I can on it, right? Like there's that. That's not a partnership. That's an RFP process. And, there's value in that too. We all need to be driving volume through our warehouses. So, there's value in it. But, the true partnerships where you can go out hand in hand with your distributor partner and you can represent yourself as, hey, I am the packer of this product and it is best in class for these reasons. That's valuable. And, as a supplier, finding those partners is it's incredibly rewarding, and it makes everything easier because your distributors are going to go hand in hand with you into those customers. Now, when you don't have that type of relationship, or you don't have the ability, the infrastructure to be able to support in that manner, it still really becomes about understanding what's important to your buyer and to the frontline associates who are going to be owning interactions with the buyers. What matters to the drivers? What matters to the salespeople? You can buy your way through it. There's spiffs. There's, we all know that money does talk. But then you can also create a value, create a presence that nobody else can replicate. And I know that people can roll their eyes when they hear that. Like, how am I going to create that special product? Like, everybody can replicate anything that they want in the United States, sure. But you can also lean into being the best at what you do. You can lean into, if I'm making a pizza cheese, I am going to have peak milk purity, and our moisture point will be, it's such that nobody else is willing to invest in the quality that I'm going to put in this box. There are things that you can do in every single category to stand out, and you have to lean into it. I don't think a race to the bottom is ever really going to get you anywhere in this business anymore. You're going to find somebody else that's willing to do it cheaper, that's willing to cut a corner. You have to be willing to try to differentiate yourself through quality and through consistency. I will provide a value that nobody else is willing to provide, and I will not compromise on that value. You can depend on me. And the moment people start depending on you, it doesn't really matter what the distributor wants to push or what logo is really on the outside of the box, because people start to trust what's inside of the box, and that's what matters.
Yeah, good stuff. Is it fair to say maybe those sales reps are a key point of contact for those suppliers as far as feedback loop? Because they are, and it's important to maintain that communication all the way down the line. I'll delve a little bit into it, right? So I was in charge of sourcing for a multi-billion-dollar distributor, and if I were to be completely cut out of the interaction, and a manufacturer were to go right to a sales rep and right to a customer without engaging with anyone on that sourcing side, in the beginning, it doesn't matter how good the product is, you're starting off on the wrong foot. Mm-hmm. You are setting yourself up to potentially be blocked in a way that, is going to damage your business. So how are you communicating with every single level of the organization? Sometimes you're going to have roadblocks put in front of you. Are you willing to actually sit down and engage with the people that are putting the roadblocks up to find an equitable solution for everyone involved? It really, I hate to do this because it's an oversimplification in some ways. It still boils down to people. Yeah.
Treat everyone with respect. If you have that best product, if you have that best service, if you provide a value, then, eventually you will get your business. But find your partners and build your relationships and build your partnerships with the salesperson and with the people on the sourcing side. And you'll find that if you have it, people will buy it and no one will stop you.
Yeah. And a recent episode, we were talking about distribution, and we talked about kind of the technology data versus the relationship aspect and how important that relationship, and even for the numerous, let's just say, heads of supply chain for restaurant chains that we've had on this show, relationships is number one.
Absolutely.
Quality, price, but I shouldn't say number one. Relationships are extremely strong component of that buy experience and how that's happening. So that's great stuff. So again, Golden Waffles, I think, folks, has a unique, as they're a manufacturer, they're in distributions, and they have that direct connection with the operators. Mike, you've seen it from the distribution and these suppliers through sourcing and through being a salesperson, right? And how these suppliers kind of interact with these operators. what are the best practices that Golden Waffles has to help operators, right? And how can other suppliers learn from that?
How can you make it as easy as possible to do business with you? That is really the question that you need to ask yourself before you walk into any interaction. If you try to build a new segment, we're currently working on, really establishing a presence within the convenience store and truck stop market, right? It's actually something that if you think about a truck stop, right? A truck stop is basically a hotel, but the rooms are on wheels.
Mm-hmm.
That's really and it's 24 hours, right? You've got your overnight guys, and then you've got your guys that are actually taking their routes out during the day in your regular 9 to 5. So you've got 24-hour access. And so how do we make it as easy as we can for a truck stop to do business with us? And so again, for us, the way that we do it is we invest in our people. We put our people out there on the road, and we just tell them it doesn't even matter if this location needs product. You're going to go there once a month. Even if they bought enough for 3 months, you're going to go there once a month. You're going to walk in, you're going to service the iron. You're going to replace it if necessary, do your preventative maintenance. And you're not, and if they have a huge spike in usage and, they need an additional delivery, you're just going to happen to be there to fill that void for them without them having to ask. Is it difficult for somebody to make a payment with you? Is it difficult for somebody to place an order? Is it difficult for someone to get in touch, to troubleshoot, right? Like, how hard is it for somebody to get to a solution with you, in partnership with you? Are you a problem finder? Are you a problem solver? This is really how, everyone should be approaching it. It's all about easy. And for us, again, I think it's easy to just kind of like dismiss it and say like, oh, well, you got your people out there doing it anyway. That's a choice. It's a choice, right? Are you willing to invest in a team of that size and then the equipment and the capital required to make sure that none of your customers will ever go without? That's easy. You don't have to place an order, and you never have to worry about your equipment failing. We are there for you. Easy should be the word that's resonating in everybody's mind. How can I make it easy? How can I make it easier? It never stops, right? It never stops. We're investing in additional technology that will actually give us visibility to what's going on inside of the iron, while we're not there. So we can see if a heating element is about to fail. And it's like, oh, we're probably going to have an issue here. Instead of waiting 2 weeks to go out there and fix this, let's just send somebody out there today and replace the heating element. We don't want our customers to ever have to pick up the phone and call us and say something failed. We want to go out there and prevent the failure from happening.
Yeah. Okay. Easy. Big mantra of mine: make it easy to do business with me, and I'll make it really easy for you to pay me. Right.
That's right.
Right. If you make that difficult, you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot. That's good. All right.
Amen.
So you also have direct to consumer at Golden Waffles, right? Where people can order your mix online, as you told me offline. How does Golden Waffle market? How do you connect with the consumers? And then again, what best practices do you have, would you recommend for other suppliers that are trying to make that connection with consumers?
We're doing it through our operators. What's kind of fun about our business is that when you walk into a self-serve waffle station, what do you see? Right? You get to see us. You get to see our name. You get to see our irons that are out there. And so, when someone is looking to replicate that drool-worthy guest experience where they're getting that fresh-baked waffle, which truly a fresh-baked waffle is actually more of an experience for someone. You more typically see that when you're on vacation, when you're in a hotel, when you're traveling, right? And so, if you want to try to replicate that at home, we provide that solution. So we're getting that customer interface in the self-serve stations in a way that not many organizations can. But how do you establish that mind in the, that presence in the mind of the consumer? Because in food service, again, our consumer is not our customer. And that's really what the base of your audience is. It's for people in the food service industry. How can you establish that presence? Is it as simple as just tabletops in a tabletops inside of the restaurant? I mean, that probably was enough 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Now it's really about establishing an online presence and being received as a thought leader in your industry. How can I reach my consumers even when they're not consuming my product? And how can I be valuable in the mind of my consumers? Do consumers actually consider us to be someone that they would go to for a solution for catering, for a question on how to prepare, on how to not just prepare a waffle or prepare a breakfast, but prepare for an event. Like there are ways to find a place in the mind of any sort of consumer, and it's all about delivering some sort of value, and that comes back to problem solving. Identify the problem, get your answers out there for people to consume, and then the confidence will grow every time somebody goes to you and they get some sort of solution. That's how I would be trying to build a presence if I didn't already have the visibility of the iron in our establishments, right? Again, it's a bit of a cheat code for us, and I do acknowledge it. But if we didn't provide answers to or solutions to problems, nobody would buy anything from us anyway.
Great. Okay. As we wind it down, last question. What do you think are the most important factors for this food service supply chain to focus on over the next 5 years? And how does Golden Waffles play a part of that?
The ideal supply chain environment is an intuitive environment. I said that, earlier on in our conversation, and we will continue to build out our visibility to data and use intelligence to make it so that I want people to talk to our waffle guys and gals. I do. They're the best people in the world. But if you really were super busy for the next 12 months, you would be able to operate with our fresh waffle program and not speak to us. Not a single time. Go online, automatic payment. We show up without any orders being in the system because we know what you need. And so how can the suppliers get that type of visibility to the data that they would need to be that intuitive? It can be as simple as just understanding that in the summer, a lot of people think that business goes up in the summer from a distribution standpoint. It actually typically doesn't. It shifts, right? So in where I'm from, in Philadelphia marketplace, the people don't flock into the area in the summer, and we don't see this huge boon of business because of the shore. No, what happens is people are spending less time in the city and they're going down to the beach.
Yep.
And so it's understanding, hey, I might not necessarily need to increase what I'm stocking in this time of year, but I need to change what I'm focused on. People are eating more boardwalk fries and they're eating more pizza in the summer because they're walking down the boardwalk getting the grab and go stuff, and they're not getting the sit down steak dinner in the city as often. And so, you can get much more complicated. You can dive into this data and you can make decisions as much as you want, but ultimately it's about getting to your customer preferences and finding the answers as quickly and as possibly as you can without your customers coming to you and having to ask for it.
All right, great. All right, well, Mike, I want to thank you for being on the show.
Appreciate you.
And that brings us to the end of another insightful journey through the fields of innovation on Farm to Fork, the Innovators. It's an honor to have you listen. If you found today's episode as fascinating as we did, don't forget to share it with a friend, write a review, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. Farm to Fork is not just a podcast. It's a community of forward thinkers and change makers. Your thoughts and ideas matter to us. Reach out on social media or through our website, datumfs.com, and be a part of the ongoing conversation. As we wrap up today, remember, the future of the food supply chain is in our hands. Stay curious, stay innovative, and let's continue growing together. Until next time, this is David Maloney signing off from Farm to Fork, the Innovators. Thank you for being a part of this community. See you in the next episode.